I had to redo this video 3 times because YouTube keeps saying that it degrades a group of people. It has harmful content. Translation. Some woman looked at the title, and the video was not what she thought and made a complaint. This is why they hate the passport bros. These types of women messed up in a big way with a man in their past, and the passport brothers reminded them of their mistakes. The man walked away from them, and found a better woman. The man is no longer hurting. All of these types of women want men to hurt, or pay for their mistakes. I am not red pill. I am not blue pill or any of that stuff. Why? It is because all the stuff men are complaining about when it comes to women is nothing new. What women are doing today, they have always done. The only thing that has changed is the way they are doing it. I will explain after the TikTok videos. I am 58 years old, and I provide examples from my own dating life. Plus, I know women who are in their 80s that have always acted this way. Therefore, you are wrong to think that any of this stuff is new. You are wrong to blame simps, social media or feminism.
You, Todd!
Social media has completely messed up the average man's dating market because of the inflation of attention that women get on social media.
You know why relationships used to work and they don't now? 25 years ago, we weren't texting our exes at 2 a.m. We weren't sending inappropriate selfies to friends of the opposite gender. We weren't texting 50 people in our phone instead of cuddling on the couch with our partner. We didn't have our next option lined up the second something didn't go exactly the way we wanted in our relationship. We worked on problems and communicated with our partners instead of posting about issues on social media so everyone could put their 2 cents in. You want things to work? Stop making your partner compete for your love.
Oh, she probably talking to other guys. I sure am. I am. Unless you decide that you want to be with me and make it official, I sure am. I'm on the market. I'm on the market and I want all of y'all.
First of all, there's no such thing as relationships anymore, apparently. It's all just hooking up, friends with benefits, and never-ending talking stages. It's not at all what it used to be. Like, first comes love, then comes marriage, then comes the baby and the baby carriage. No. It is first comes sex, then comes ghosting, then comes emotional trauma and trust issues. And then everybody does the opposite of what you're supposed to. So if they like someone, they don't tell them. If they want to be with them, they act like they don't. Everybody wants what they can't have, but then when they have it, they don't appreciate it, so they lose it. So then they'll fight to get it back, and then when they get it back, they don't really want it because they didn't really want it anyway. They just wanted to get it back but not really have it. You feel me?
I am showing Flossmoor, Illinois. I think this is a lot better than looking at some old guy talking. They do not put us on magazine covers in swimsuits for a reason. This neighborhood is an all-black neighborhood. However, the town of Flossmoor, Illinois is not an all-black town. Anyway, I am 58 years old, so I went to college in the 80s. Back then, we did not have social media, cell phones, texting or any of this stuff. What we had were little black books with girls' phone numbers and answering machines. Plus, we did booty calls. We called the girl at 2 in the morning and asked if we could come to her house. In college, I knew many girls that were pursuing men that were way out of their league and way better looking, but these girls still believed that they were very beautiful women. I always wondered how could these girls believe that they could even get a man like that, a very good-looking guy. I had more than a few girls tell me after the date that they had boyfriends, and then tell me that we can still date. I dated 2 girls who told me that they were going to see other men, but they wanted me as their primary man. A girl named Beth told some of us men at a college party that she would only date a man that has his own apartment, a car and a motorcycle. Thus, just like today. 6 feet tall, making 6 figures, etc. All of these girls were average at best, but they all thought that they were the prize. So what all of you men are going through today is nothing new. The women are not acting this way because of social media or feminism. This is the way it has always been. Now what social media has done is allow more men to share their stories and experiences. One of the greatest things about social media is that it has allowed men to tell other men that these types of women are attempting to manipulate you and shame you into thinking that what they are doing is okay, and you, the men, have the problem. Social media has allowed men to tell other men that they are not the problem, and that what these women are doing is not okay and is wrong. After college, I had a lot of female friends. These girls would meet a good-looking man one weekend, and sleep with him the same weekend or sleep with him the next weekend. Then he would not call, so they would meet another good-looking man the next weekend, thus starting the cycle all over again. There are only 52 weeks in a year, and if you subtract the holidays, this gives you 15 to 20 men these women have slept with in 1 year. So, the hookup culture is nothing new. Back in the 80s, this one girl I was dating told one of my friends that if Todd gave me a commitment, I would stop seeing other men. If we men have to level up, then you women have to come to us men in the right way. I went on a few dates with an ex-adult film actress. A few people, mostly women, asked me if I would have married her. The answer is yes. When I compared her to all the other women I dated, she came out on top. She was not delusional, not full of self, she did not have the need to always be right, and she took accountability for her past. She knew that some people would not want to be seen with her in public because of her past. After working for over 15 years, getting hell at work and then coming home and getting hell at home, you realize what is truly important. If the woman can create a supportive and loving home, so that you can recharge for the next day, and do what you need to do, it really does not matter how many men is in her past. However, the argument regarding how many men a woman has had sex with is nothing new. In the 70s and the 80s, we men also had the same argument with women. So, men need to stop defending ourselves, and just tell women that this is how men are built. This is how men are, all over the world, in every race and every culture. You women know this, and you women also know the consequences of this type of behavior, and yet you do it anyway. So do not get upset when we men tell you we do not want you because of it. Plus, I have known couples where the woman has had many more sexual partners compared to the man. Except for one relationship, the woman ended the relationship. People always believe that the other person will do the same stuff they have done. Thus, the woman is scared that the man will want to have just as many sexual partners as she has had. The only way for the man to achieve this, is to cheat. Therefore, the reason why the woman ended the relationship is because she was scared the man would cheat. Having sex with that many people was okay for you. No big deal. It was just sex. So why is it not okay now? So now you all know that when these types of women claim that what they are doing is modern feminism, they are just attempting to justify stuff they know is not justifiable. Thus, these women are attempting to manipulate you. No one wants to be in a relationship with a devious person. Thus, these types of women are not marriage material for a lot of reasons. The legal drinking age did not turn or become 21 until 1985. Thus, the legal drinking age was 18, which meant that at 18 you could get into any nightclub or bar in the United States. In the 70s, you had nightclubs such as Studio 54 in New York and the Playboy Club in Chicago. You had places like these all over the United States, where beautiful 18 to 21 years old women would go and meet rich famous men. Plus, do not forget about the hippies and free love of the 1960s. Do you really think that this stopped after the 60s? In the 70s, HIV or AIDS spread around the world quickly, and came to the United States in the year 1976 because people were having a lot of relations. Thus, nothing has changed. Only the way people are doing it has changed. Back in the 80s, I took a marriage and family class in college, at a university, and the divorce rate was not truly high. It was not truly over 60%. What made the divorce rate high was the same people getting a divorce over and over again. Since the divorce rate has not really changed over the decades, means that this trend is probably the same and will always be the same. The true divorce rate is about 40%. I looked up today's divorce rate, and the National Survey of Marriage and Health said that it is around 40%. From the same class, the researchers discovered that when they compared the day people got married to the date their first child was born, in the United States and England, over 60% of these couples had their first child within 6 months from the day of their wedding. Thus, for the past 200 years, most women in the United States and England were pregnant before they got married. In the 50s, after the Communist Party took over China, the Communist Party made divorce legal. There were now so many women that wanted a divorce that it caused China's courts to become backed up for 2 years. You cannot blame feminism for the divorce rate. In addition, all of my aunts are now in their 70s and 80s. Some of my aunt's friends told me that one of the reasons why they got divorced was because back in the 60s and 70s, they listened to their girlfriends, or what some call the sisterhood, telling them they can do better. Plus, all of these women, after their divorce, were looking for high-value men. They all wanted to trade up, and find a man that was better than their ex-husband. Better looking and earned more money. This was taking place in the 60s, the 70s and the 80s, thus, before there was modern feminism. None of them were able to trade up, and the women, the sisterhood who told these women that they can do better, also never found a high-value man. The bad part is that these older women are telling today's young women to do the same things they did, and expect a different result. Once delusional. Always delusional. In the 80s, some of my female friends told me that some of their female friends' mothers were telling their daughters to marry a high-value man. Plus, many mothers today are still giving their daughters the same advice. Back in the 80s, one of my girlfriends broke up with me because she wanted to experience other men. This woman actually believed that one day I would take her back and we would get married. Black, white, Asian, and Spanish women were doing this to men all over the place. We all said the same thing. If you think you can put us in the friend zone, go out and have sex with other men, and think that one day we will want you. You must be crazy. Her mother told her that females should not be in a serious relationship until they turn 27 years old. However, men should be in a serious relationship. Who are men supposed to date? People have their own logic that is not always logical. In addition, in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, many single women and single mothers were saying that they did not need a man. In the 90s, I dated a single mother named Michelle, who told me that she did not mind dying alone like her mother and aunts. However, when these women got old, and their married female friends talk about how wonderful their husbands are, they all say that they do not want to hear that stuff. Thus, they might not need a man, but they all want a man. They do not need a man, because all of the stuff their man would do. They get their father, brothers, nephews, and male friends to do this. Like fixing their car, painting the house, and cutting the grass. Plus, 4 of my uncles died in the late 90s, and they all were in their 70s or 80s. They decided not to get married and just went from woman to woman. There were a lot of single mothers in the 1960s and the 1970s. Back in the 50s, the 60s and the 70s, if you were a poor white or black teenager, there was no way that you could hide the birth of your child, and you could not get an abortion. Abortion did not become legal until the 70s. So you and your family just had to deal with it. Remember, men do not change. We are the same all over the world. We are always saying stuff just to get into a girl's pants. Do you really believe that back in the 50s, the 60s and the 70s that most girls were virgins when they got married? If you looked at your family and compared the dates from the day of the wedding to the day the first child was born, you will find that many had their first child within 8 months of the wedding. Plus, in the 50s and the 60s, there were secretarial pools. There were a lot of girls that graduated high school, and one of the only decent jobs they could get was as a secretary. Thus, you had a lot of young single women in the workplace. As the saying goes from the 1950s, Friday nights are for the girlfriend, and Saturday nights are for the wife. Since my uncles were all in the army at one time, I got cousins who I never met in Hawaii, Kentucky, Idaho, and other places. Plus, I might have cousins in Korea and Vietnam. My aunt went to high school in the 1960s, and she told me that she learned more about different kinds of knocking it down, or different kinds of sexual acts from the white girls. So where did the white girls learn it? Plus, sex education classes never talked about the different types of acts or positions. People forget that during World War II, the military gave its soldiers condoms because the military knew the men would need them. Plus, after they got back to America, many soldiers said that the women in Europe were more open when it came to intimate relations. How would you know this if you were not attempting to use the condoms before you left? We are men. We do not change. We are the same all over the world. We are always saying stuff to get into a girl's pants. Therefore, all the men on the dating websites people are calling simps are just practicing their game. All of the women on dating websites are not acting as if they are the prize because of simps. They are acting this way because of learned behavior from other women. There is a very good video by Kevin Samuels that helps to explain this, explain the power of the sisterhood. However, it is 40 minutes long. I will put a link to this video in the description. In the 70s, I met an old white man, and he told us stories about his life growing up. He said that now we have telephones in our homes and girly magazines on the streets. He said that he remembers when his town got its first telephone. It was a payphone, and it was located on the edge of town. He also said that the operator had a pretty voice. It was hard, but they managed. Back in the year 2004, I met a man named Wayne, who was over 70 years old, and who is white. In the 1950s, when Wayne was 20 years old, he was married. One day after work, Wayne and 2 of his friends went from Ohio to Florida for spring break, and had a good time. None of the men told their wives until they got back to Ohio. All of them are divorced. The point is that spring break was taking place back in the 1950s. Plus, people forget that birth control or the pill became public in the late 1950s. This means that many women in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s were doing the same stuff women are doing today. Back then, people just hid it more and did not talk about it as much. Social media has just made it easier and acceptable. Thus, none of it is because of the feminist movement. Thus, the only thing that is different when one compares today to back then, is how people are doing it, and not what people are doing. When people say that women are showing masculine energy, they are 100% wrong. Men do not talk to other men this way or act this way around other men. So, there is nothing masculine about what these women are doing. These types of women do not act or talk this way to other women or the sisterhood. We need to call it for what it is. It is abuse. When I was at a fast food restaurant, the black woman taking orders seemed to be angry. However, this was only with the black men. When a woman came over and ordered her food, the woman taking orders' face changed, and the tone of her voice changed. This is not a black community thing. Many white, Spanish and Asian men are experiencing the same stuff. Their women express it differently. For example, from watching videos of interviews with old white men who are now living in the Philippines. They said that their ex-wife would beat you down until you agreed with her, even if she knew she was wrong. From watching videos by younger white men, these men said that if they told their wives something deep, something profound, something that has hurt them in the past, if you got into an argument, she will use it to hurt you. Thus, basically telling you that if you disagree with me, then I will hurt you. Hence, a form of control, which is abuse. One more thing. Many say that these types of women are liberal women. Conservative women do the same thing. Watch YouTube videos from old white men that moved to the Philippines. Their ex-wives displayed the same behaviors. At the end, I put a link to another video I created called Another Way to Live. It is a nice short video. Everyone that watched it liked the video. Men and women. I never said I was not crazy, but I am not as crazy as she is. Thank you for watching. Please click the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this video. I have speech issues, which is why most of my videos are computer-generated voiceovers. Plus, it is hard to edit your own voice. For a free copy of my music, go to my website. Remember, my music is only background music. Right now, my music is free, but if I have to start paying for extra services, then I might have to set a price for a download. If you want to know how to create your own music, then go to my other YouTube channel and look for the word Garageband. Creating your own music is easy. I did it and I cannot play a musical instrument. If you want to know how to translate a video into other languages, then go to my other YouTube channel and look for the word translate. The links are in the description below.